So to start making the maze game, we're going to go over to TinkerCAD. And once you're in this, or on this page here, it's going to ask you for a teacher code. Now, the teacher code obviously is going to change depending on what teacher you have. So you're going to have to get that from them, which will probably be on daymap. But once you've got it, you type it in here, all right, then go to my class, and it should log you through. And on your first screen, or your home screen that you're going to have, all right, you're going to have to just go down to Create and 3D Design. All right, once this is loaded up, you can see on the right-hand side here, you've got some basic shapes. Now, we're going to start off with just the rectangle box. So I can bring that out here, click again. All right, now if I click on the corner of this box here, these dimensions appear. All right, so we want our maze game to be 60 millimeters. I'm going to hit Tab on the keyboard by 60 and then press Enter. All right, so I can just grab that, I can move it around if I want to. The only thing that we need to change now is obviously the height of this box as well. So when I move, can you see that line that comes up vertically like this? All right, that's the thickness of the box. So if I click on that dot at the end of that line, I can change this thickness now to 6.5 millimeters. All right, so that's going to be the main sort of design for our maze game. Now, obviously, you guys can go through and make a different shape, but at the end of the day, it needs to be at least 60 by 60. It can't be any bigger than that. And I probably wouldn't go much smaller than that either. So if you are going to do a different shape, all right, try and keep it 60 by 60. So for example, if I was doing a different shape, I could use, go to more shapes. Actually, no, we could just use a cylinder, just use that. So for example, if I want it to be circular, once again, I can make it 60 by 60. And then the thickness, once again, make that 6.5. All right, so there you go. You could have a square or a circle. Triangle is probably a little bit too hard. You could have like a hexagon or something like that. And all those shapes are here. So you've got polygon. Obviously, you can go through and make that if you wanted to. All right, for this demonstration, I'm only going to use the square. All right, now the next thing that we need to do is cut out a section in here. All right, obviously where the little ball bearings can go into and where we can make that maze. So the first thing we need to do is to use a work plane here. And this work plane tool allows us to select this face on top to work on. So if we click on that, all right, you should have seen that work plane now move to the surface there. So if I just right click and hold, I'm just dragging my mouse, and you can see that work plane now sitting on top of that box. The next thing we're going to have to do is grab this box here, but you see how it's got some lines through it? It means it's going to cut out the material. So we're going to use this box now and just place it on top. Now for this box, we're going to make it a bit smaller. So we're going to make it 55 millimeters and go Tab, 55. All right, I'm just going to click off of it. So now it's actually 5 mil smaller both ways. So what that means is on the edges, you're going to have 2.5 mil and 2.5 mil. All right, now we need to align these properly. All right, so to do that, we're going to click and hold and drag over both of them. All right, and then up here on the right-hand side, there's a tool that says Align. Okay, so we're going to click on that. And now we need to align them so they're perfectly centered both ways. So see this dot here and see this dot here. All right, so we're going to align them using both of those dots. Now, when I hover over it, it's going to show you a preview. So you can see with the orange outline there, how that is going to look once I click on it. Okay, so obviously if I clicked on other ones here, all right, it's going to show you how that would look. But for us, we just want to make it center this way and also that way as well. So I'll click on this one, and you saw that move. But as you can see, it's not centered this way yet, is it? All right, so if we click on this one now it centered it. So when you look around your model, and I'm just holding the right click on my mouse, all right, you can see that that's centered all the way around. Awesome. All right, so I'm just going to click off of that. Now we need to make this cut go into our original box that we made. All right, now we want 2 millimeters left over at the end. So we're going to have to come down 4.5 mil because we made this 6.5 before. All right, so select this box on top that's going to cut. Press or just click on that arrow at the top once. Sorry, you're going to have to probably grab it. So just grab it, drag it down, and see how now it's going down -1 millimeter. Now I can edit that. So we want this to be minus 4.5. Press enter. All right, so that should now be cutting out 4.5 mil out of that block underneath. All right, so I'm going to click and hold again and drag over both of them. And this time I'm going to group them, so it actually makes that cut for us. So we're going to go group. Might have to just wait a little bit, and there. All right, so as I move around, you can see it's cut out that intersection. All right, that's exactly what we need for the moment. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start working out where we're going to place bits and pieces on our model. All right, so for example, we want some walls or some areas that those balls need to obviously be hitting against as it goes through a maze. So there's different ways you can do it. Firstly, probably the more basic way of doing this is you could just use the box, all right, to go through and make obviously the walls. Now, before we actually do that, we want to make sure we get the work plane again. So I'm just going to hit escape on my keyboard to get rid of that box tool. So I'm going to use the work plane. It's not letting me click on it at the moment. So I'm just going to click on the ruler, then go back to it. There we are. All right, and now I want to click on this surface here because that's the surface that we want to be working on. There we are. Now we'll try that again. So we're going to go to the box and just put the box inside of that area for now. All right, now the walls, so sorry, I've clicked on that corner so we can change the dimensions again. But the walls that we want to make are going to be no smaller than 2 mil. So any wall you make it 2 millimeters. I'm just going to press enter. And then obviously the height of this wall can't be any more than 4.5 millimeters. All right, so that should be the same height as the wall here. So we can test that and just drag it over to the side. Now when I zoom in, yeah, they should be perfectly aligned at the top. All right, so that's good. Now, once again, you can go around and start copy and pasting these. So I'll just show you what that could look like. So I can select it, go Control C on my keyboard, then Control V. I can grab this one and then put it somewhere else. All right, so you can start building a maze quite easily. Now, if you want to change the size of one of these little walls, can you see these little black dots? Now, if I use this one, it's going to change the thickness, which we don't want to do. We want to keep it 2 mil. But if I use one of these, so see how it's 20 mil here? All right, I can grab that and I can drag it. All right, to make it bigger or smaller, I can change the dimension here. So if I only want this one to be 10 millimeters, I can change it to 10, press enter, and that's it. All right, so I could, place that basically wherever I want that to be. Now, if you want a piece to be on a different angle, for example, I'm going to use this one again. So I'm going to go Control C, Control V to copy and paste. Now see next to the block there's that arrow. All right, those arrows that move around. So if I grab that, I can now rotate it. So if I want it on a 45-degree angle, all right, I can leave it like that. I'm just going to copy and paste a new one. If I want it to be 90 degrees or horizontal compared to the other ones, obviously I can change that. So you can then start making your game a little bit more complex and having little walls that are going in different directions. All right, so that's one thing that you could do. Another thing you could do to make it even more challenging or even just a little bit more interesting on here is we could use, different shapes. So I might even use this little tube here. Okay, once again, we need to change the height. So the height needs to be 4.5. Now, the only issue with this tube is obviously it's a bit useless in this game because the ball can't go inside of it, it can only go around it. So, what you could do for this is we could cut a section out. So I'm going to use the box again. And I'm just going to place it randomly, and it doesn't really matter in terms of sizing. The only thing you need to know is that the ball bearings that we're going to use are actually 3.5 mil in diameter. So what that means is with this little slot that I'm putting through this tube, is I need to make sure that the slot is wide enough for the ball to go through. So if the ball's 3.5 millimeters, I'm going to make sure that the channel is probably at least 4 millimeters. So it gives it enough room. All right. If you want to make sure there's definitely enough room, you could even go 4.5 just to be safe. All right. But once again, it depends how hard you want it to be. If you want it to be nice and easy, obviously you can open that up a bit wider. All right. So for this one, I might just do 5 mil. All right. And then like we did before, if I want those two to now work together and for that section to be cut out, I'm going to select both of them. So I've clicked on one, held shift and selected the other one. All right, and then I'm going to group them together. Now, sometimes it does take a little while for that to load, so just be patient. All right, but that one obviously went through quite quickly. So now you can see that there's a hole or a little gap inside of that tube that we had before. All right, and obviously the ball now can get inside of that area. Okay. There's other things obviously as well. You've got, these sorts of shapes here where the ball could roll up a little ramp or whatever. There's stars, all sorts of stuff. So just for this demonstration, I might use the star as well. Need to make that a bit smaller. Once again, needs to be 4.5 millimeters. All right, we can leave that there, for example. All right, now just for the rest of it, I'm just going to quickly go around and just finish that off. So I'm just going to copy and paste some of these. All right, so like I said, you want it to be interesting to play and a bit more fun to play. You could even add text really into it as well if you wanted to. So you could have your name or maybe just one letter if you wanted to. All right, but once again, it needs to work within your design. So I'm going to change that to 4.5. Awesome. All right, so I'll get a couple more walls in. Awesome. All right, so let's just say that is my maze that I've got so far. We need to create these little, almost like little holes where the balls are going to drop into. All right, because the aim of the game is for your little ball bearings to go into every single hole that's been placed. All right, so to do that, we're going to go and grab these spheres. All right, we're going to place them in here. All right, now the sphere obviously is way too big, so what we're going to do is drop these down to 5 by 5 millimeters. But you also need to change the height as well. Change that to 5. All right, and then what you're going to do is you're going to place 3 of these around your maze because you're going to have 3 ball bearings that you're going to use for your design.